If you have jumped into the survival or survival freelance playlist since the start of Season 8, you probably noticed it is a bit different from the comp playlist of previous seasons. The first obvious difference is that this new comp is only survival, which, depending on who you ask, is either a good thing or a bad thing. Personally, I don't mind survival, but I wouldn't have minded if they put in survival, or if they put in Clash with the survival, kind of mix it up. But as long as Countdown was removed, I was happy. 3v3 I feel also just works way better than 4v4. It's just, feels a little bit more classic to me. Perhaps the biggest difference, however, is the matchmaking system for these Glory Point playlists. Prior to Season 8, Bungie announced that they were making changes to the systems for comp, and since Season 8, they've even announced that they've made some small changes to these systems, but as far as I know, they haven't said specifically what they did to these matchmaking systems, but I think in general we can all agree that it's much easier to move up in Glory ranking. They did say that you would kind of jump to your Glory Point that fit where you belonged much quicker, but it just seems in general everything just moved a lot faster. There seems to be much less importance on your actual Glory Points when matching other players than it had been previously. I've witnessed players with 4,500 plus points matching people in the 1 to 2,000 range, and this seems to be something I see a lot of people say online on forums and Twitter and stuff like that. In previous seasons, it seems that the higher Glory Points you had, that was like the main factor, generally meaning the higher you climbed, the harder the matches were. For the first time in my D2 career, I made it to the full 5,500 Glory Points. I made Max Legend, just massive. And I did it with relative ease. I didn't feel like the players that I was matching at 5K plus were significantly different than anyone that I was matching when I was just getting started. Rather than matching by Glory Points, it seems like the biggest factor in matchmaking is the average KD of the team matching the average KD of the opposing team. I haven't really done much actual research into this. It just kind of seems like the most apparent thing to me when I was looking at it myself. In general, it seemed like a lot of the players matched my own perceived skill level. However, it was kind of the outliers to that situation that made me consider that this KD theory may be something to look into, and so I did a little unscientific research of myself to kind of see if this made any sense. So I would have a lot of games where I felt like my opponents, they were decent players, nothing that I couldn't handle, but they weren't slacking either. But then my teammates were literal anchors attached to my chances of winning those games. After these games, I would, be like, what is going on with these guys? I had to look them up on Destiny Tracker. And more often than not, these people that were kind of costing the game, so to speak, were drastically lower to me in both overall KD in the Crucible and or games played. This is why I began to kind of assume that this was the main driving force. For example, I had a couple of these games where I would look up my opponents and they would have overall KDs like 0.9, 0.8, 0.82, average somewhere around 0.8, something like that for the entire team. For my team, it would be me sitting at a 1.3, not trying to flex because that's, not great or anything. But then it would put me with two players who are like 0.6, maybe 0.7. And so average, we would get kind of close to the opposing team. And they usually provided pretty close games. And I'm not trying to bash players with lower KDs or anything. They usually could handle themselves just fine. But oftentimes, too, I would, I have almost 6,000 games of Crucible played, if not more than that. And these players would have like maybe 100. And that's kind of, I think, just the sheer play time. You just, you don't know the maps as well. You might be making uninformed decisions, and it would be rough to play with. That's all I'm going to say. So in general, it seems like that was all for freelance. In general, however, the regular, the one you can go into with Fire Team, seems a little bit harder, most likely because you can play as a Fire Team, and communication really is the mightiest weapon in the Crucible. However, even in these playlists, I feel like it was much more rare that you would match up against someone who's just straight up outclassing you as a guardian. You know, like, holy crap, what's going on? These guys are like legit, like insane. Obviously, you know, you did run into a team of just like straight up freako mode dudes, but it was much less likely than, you know, last season. I barely got to 4K points, I think, maybe. And those games were so hard for me. Usually because I didn't have a full fire team, but, you know, even with 2 people, you would think with someone else with a close enough glory point, that person can hang on, but we would just get destroyed. And, you know, one of the other big factors that just kind of seems to me that everything is a little bit easier is there's a lot more people offering free help to Legend. Whereas, you know, I would see ads on my Instagram where it's like, here, buy Not Forgotten for, you know, $600 or whatever. And now people are just doing it for free. So before I make this video way too long-winded, I just wanted to say I've been enjoying comp this season, even if it doesn't mean as much as it was before to get to Legend. I'm genuinely happy I was able to get to Legend and Not Forgotten, because before this season, I did not think that was actually something that was feasible for me without getting the assistance of, you know, somebody else who could kind of carry me. So I'm very happy that I was able to do it kind of on my own. And if it stays like this, potentially I could get the Unbroken title. And as someone who pretty much exclusively plays in the Crucible, that would honestly mean a ton to me, because this is, not only do I only play Crucible, but this is pretty much the only game that I play regularly. So anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think of this season's survival playlist, and just the Crucible in general. And I'll see you guys next time.
敵を全滅させた。ライフも残っていない。完全勝利だ。周りに私のお気に入りはお前だと言っている。当然だ。お前ほどいい戦いを見せる奴はいない。